it's refreshing to have so many persons online sharing that, because that doesn't always work that way. So thank you, starters. And I think it's safe to assume you all have some idea of what Bhagavad Gita is. And some of you would like to know more about what Bhagavad Gita is, because that's our topic for these 3 sessions. Not exactly what Bhagavad Gita is, but wisdom literature, I like calling texts like this wisdom literature, encompass some fundamental directions, or in this case we're using the word values, spiritual culture and its values, because it helps guide our life towards a spiritual direction. A friend of mine got a PhD in organization development, which is a nice topic because he's an interesting person. And this image came from him. And using the image of the iceberg of culture, for example, when an organization is forming, you want to assess what are its values, like statement of purpose and mission statement and all those nice things. Or the different categories. One corporation buys out another corporation. Imagine that happens. And then the new corporation wants to look at how they conduct themselves. Because, so they want to make mission statement and look at the culture of the organization and how to improve it, etc. So that's what this image is. It's an iceberg of culture where there's the tip of the iceberg. That's what you see above the surface of the water. This big thing that's below the surface of the water. And there's at the very bottom of the iceberg. So it's 3 divisions. And their language is what's artifacts, the observable behaviors, something you can measure. That's what's above the surface of the water. Any organization has that, any person has that, group of persons has that. And then there's something that helps you drive those behaviors or speech, and that's the values. So, like for example, once upon a time, Srila Prabhupada, who's Vyasa-san is over here, came to America and he wanted to establish the Hare Krishna movement. So he did it in New York City, or New York State, and according to the laws of New York State, you have to state the purpose of your organization. And then they decide does it fit into this, that, or the other category. So he made statements. It's the purpose of this fund. So that's the stated values. Or like behold these truths to be self-evident, forming the United States of America. So stated values, beliefs, mission statements, what we say is important to us. And values drive behaviors. And vice versa, behaviors can influence values. So there's an interplay between them, but our focus is going to be primarily in this middle one, stated values, and then assumptions, like unchanging things. Values can change, behaviors can change, but there's some things that don't change. The people that, organization development people say there's some things that just don't change. Implicit convictions, like for example, and we're going to touch on it as we go forward with this particular one. We're spirit souls. We have covering, we have bodies, we have minds, we have intelligence, but her spirit soul is driving the machine. Machine has a driver. It's in Bhagavad Gita. There's, for example, maybe you like to learn Sanskrit words. There's Deha and there's Dehi. Deha is the body, and Dehi is the occupier of the body. They're different. The occupier of the body is not the body. We have a body, but it's not who we are. And that's wisdom. That's an unchanging reality. Things may change. Behaviors, values may change. That doesn't change. So there's a distinction between knowledge and wisdom and information. And I'll try to go quickly because of time, because I want to finish. I like to go slowly, but something like 10, 12 years ago, I don't remember exactly when, in India, there was a conference held with educators throughout all of India, different levels, primary up to graduate schools and everything in between. And the keynote speaker for the conference said, education in India today can be summarized in 5 words. Information, 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 no transformation. Because the real purpose of education is transformation, elevation from something to another something. Not just you had a big information basket and you're a very learned person because you got a lot of information in your information basket. That makes you a wise and knowledgeable person. There's a distinction between information. In Bhagavad Gita, there's information. But beyond information, there's wisdom. And so we want to focus on that part. The information is also there. And to make the journey from information to wisdom, here's a nice diagram I like very much. On the left side, it shows where we are. On the right side, it shows where we want to go. So values aren't always where you are, it's where you want to go. And it may be intimidating. It's like being a teenager, in between being independent and independent. And it's being in between can be uncomfortable when you want to go somewhere and you're not there yet. I mean, you have an idea of where it is. If you have a good GPS, you can get there. But how are you going to make that transition in wisdom? And so that's in between is this, the Krishna factor, I call it. He helps us get from where we are to where we want to go. So that's an introduction to the theme. You'll see this again 2 more times, so don't worry if you didn't pick up all the details. The first Gita value is Samadarshana. You know, just a little, one of the things I've learned in life is give credit where credit is due. That's a sign of a leader. So I'm trying to give credit to where these 6 things come from. Where do these 6 Gita values come from? It's not like it's a list in Bhagavad Gita, here's the 6 values you're supposed to pick up from reading this wisdom literature. Rather, there's a little history. Once upon a time, there was a person who was going to become the chairman of all of ISKCON. He was, nominated for that service, and there wasn't a clear job description for him. So what he did was he went to some fellows at Oxford University, because they're smart guys, they, wisdom people, and help me understand how to configure what I should be doing as the chairman of the worldwide organization, because there isn't a job description. So they collaborated with some people and some other people and some other people and came up with this, because our life as a spiritual organization is following Bhagavad Gita, and there are values that people who live their life according to Bhagavad Gita live by. So you lead according to these values, and you're in good shape. As best you can, because you're not there yet, but you do the best you can. And that's what we're getting there, kind of. Principles. So the first of them, they're sequential. We're going to be covering the first three. Samadarshana. Sama in Sanskrit means equal, and darshana means to see, equal vision. So in the world around us, there's lots of variety. I've never seen a tree with this many kinds of fruits on it, but there's different kinds of fruit trees, different kinds of insects, different kinds of birds, different kinds of aquatics, different kinds of animals, and more kinds of animals, and lots of diversity, lots and lots and lots of differences. So it's easy to see the differences. How do you see the sama? The equanimity, or the sameness within all beings, within all forms of life. In the human form, lots of colors, lots of cultures, lots of personality types, lots of flags, lots of differences. These are all on the outside. And then on the subtle inside, there are different emotions, and people react in different ways to the same thing. Some this way and some that way, because we're different. Emotions are different, forms are different, cultures are different. So many differences. So how are you supposed to get this equal vision, value that's given in Bhagavad Gita? It's a good question. That's the question. How do you get there? The illustration is meant to show there's a lock at the bottom, a lock at the top in the shape of a heart, and a key at the bottom. So the key fits the lock. Gita's ideas of equal vision speaks of the equality of living beings, where life is respected regardless of the coverings. And again, lots of different coverings. All those sparks, some floating in the sky and some are within the different animals and birds and aquatics, etc. Those little sparks, that's the spirit soul, the life within that animates the unchanging. Remember the iceberg example, the unchanging reality? That's the unchanging part for all of us. All living beings are spirit souls, without exception. Life means we're spiritual beings. That skinny guy there on the left, that's us. That's the spirit. When you see him, you'll see him a few times. And the characteristics, according to Bhagavad Gita and the whole of Vedic wisdom, soul is eternal, doesn't come into being, doesn't go out of being. Bodies do. Mind, emotions, and thoughts, and all of that, it's all temporary. But the soul is eternal. The soul is the seat of consciousness, or is cognizant, and by its very nature is blissful. So material circumstances aren't always blissful, but the soul is. They're distinct. The thing is, we've lost touch with it because we've identified with the covering more so than with who we really are. You can hear this TikTok fellow say something, the same thing. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Can I have the microphone? See this fellow, he's going to give you a little Bhagavad Gita class. He looks a little different than me, but that's okay. He says the same things that I say. And I hope the recording works.
spirituality is important is because it is reality. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Who I am and what I am is not my body. It's not even my personality. You know, it's not the trauma I suffered. It's not what I have been through. That there is a little spark of the divine inside of me. There's hard data that shows around mental health and well-being that having serenity, meaning, purpose, a losing of oneself to a transcendent self of the divine increases greatly the quality of our lives. We're a part of something much greater and much more beautiful than ourselves, and in living in that state can greatly enrich your life.
He's got more to say, but he got cut off. Okay, during these little talks, there's some interactive segments. So this is one of them. This is a feel your soul meditation. You ready? Hope you can feel your soul. You had some yoga classes, so you know what pranayama is. Deep breathing. You did some of that, right? Not yet? Yes, you did that. Okay. Few deep breaths. I'm asking you to do this. Then we'll ask you to close your eyes. And then I'll read the rest with your eyes closed. So for a few deep breaths. Close your eyes. With your inner senses, feel your feet, your legs, your thighs. Move up and feel your stomach area, your whole back. Then the chest, your arms, your face and head, and we've just met our body, but we're not the body. And we're not the mind either. And you're not your thoughts and emotions that go on within the mind. Now, in your meditative state, be present with yourself. Take a slow, deep breath. Come and sit inside your heart. Your spirit soul connected to divine grace. I'm going to chant that Maha Mantra. You can chant with me, softly. Slowly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now that's the process of meditation, not all feel the different parts of your body, but being conscious. You can open your eyes. Now we're going to carry on. Mantra meditation is a way of bringing who you really are, that seat of consciousness, in contact with the divine. So that's yoga, linking with the Supreme through sound meditation. And where the soul is, according to the wisdom literatures, the soul is situated in the region of the heart. And from that region in the heart place, consciousness pervades, just like the sun is in the sky and the light of the sun pervades. It's diffused light, but it's heat and light, it's fire, through the agency of the sun. So as the sun's heat and light spreads through the universe, so the consciousness, that's us, spreads through the body, and then through the senses out. So, I mean, I'm looking, I can see the trees waving in the wind, the sun is glittering off the leaves. There's sights and there's sounds, there's senses, and the consciousness extends outside the body through the medium of the senses. And according to Vedic texts, the soul is very tiny, 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 tiny. According specifically, the Upanishad says, you can take the very, very tip of a hair, divide the tip of the hair into 100 parts, take one of those 100 parts and divide that into 100 parts, and that's the magnitude of the soul. Tiny. But at the same time, very powerful. Here's an elephant. The size of the soul in the elephant is the same size as the soul in the squirrel, or the bug, or anything else. Doesn't matter. The coverings differ. The soul doesn't differ. That's the point. Here's a Bhagavad Gita verse, chapter 15. The translation reads, the living entity, thus taking another gross body, this is referring to the soul transmigrating from one body to the next body to the next body. They're not always going to be human body. We obtain a certain type of ear, like elephants have a certain type of ear, certain type of eye, certain type of tongue, certain type of nose, certain sense of touch, and all grouped about the mind. But the mind is not us, it's one of the subtle coverings, and through the sense objects, reaching out, contacting the senses reaching out, contacting sense objects. That information goes to the mind, and the mind sends it to the seat of consciousness. In the human form of life, we have well-developed senses in all the 5 sense categories. And it doesn't matter the form of life, all forms of life have spirit soul. There's a nice verse, amongst many nice verses in Bhagavad Gita, that speaks of stages or covered degrees of consciousness, just like a tree is a covered state of consciousness. Is compared to the embryo covered by the womb, or the animal form of life is compared to a mirror covered by dust, so we can't see ourselves so well in the mirror that's covered by dust, but you can see there's something there. And then there's the human form of life with more developed or less covered consciousness. That's compared to fire covered by smoke. So what happens if you don't have coverings anymore? It's called enlightenment. Or yoga, connecting the soul, connecting with the Supreme Soul. That's what yoga is. Therefore, this is almost the end of our nice little presentation. There's a Bhagavad Gita verse where Krishna speaks of that fellow on the right, that's a humble sage, and he sees with equal vision. That's what this topic is. Sama Darshana Pandita means a learned person, and he sees with equal vision that fellow on the left, that's the learned and gentle Brahmana. Next to him is a cow. Next to him is this big elephant. You see that spark inside the elephant? And then there's, next to the cow is the dog, and chasing after the Dog is a dog eater. So coverings are very different. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of differences. And that's material consciousness just sees the differences, and we judge people or value people or relate to people based upon the coverings, gross or subtle. And then what this verse, wisdom literature Bhagavad Gita is saying, that the wise person values seeing the spark of life within. You see the differences, but you see the spark of life within. This vision awards personhood to all. It links us with the divine grace, just like that TikTok fellow was saying, and consequently with each other. Now this is important. I mean, it's all important, but how to have a spiritual relationship. Relationships are important to everybody, regardless of what your age is, what your culture is, what your anything is. Relationships are important. And how to have a spiritual relationship. So there's a soul-to-soul identity, but it's made possible by the connection with the divine grace, with the Supreme Soul. Because this is chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, a little quick session in Bhagavad Gita. But within this body, there's two souls. I mean, there's unlimited souls because there's souls within every living creature, and there's all kinds of organisms within our body, all of which have souls within. But aside from the organisms within our body, we're the conscious, primary elevated consciousness occupier of the body. And there's another. This is chapter 13, Bhagavad Gita. The other is the super soul, individual soul, super soul. And that link between one soul and another soul is through that medium of super soul. Equal vision begins with seeing ourselves as what we are, and then we can enable to then see others who others are. Say it the other way. If you don't know who you are, try to have a relationship with somebody. It's not going to go very well because you don't know who you are, and you're certainly not going to know who they are either. So try to have a relationship. And that's not a lot of what happens in day-to-day life. Alternatively, this Samadarshana principle, the Samadarshana value, enables us to see who we are, to see who others are, and relate accordingly. Now, Samadarshana doesn't mean, taking Prabhupada's example, you go and embrace a tiger. We make distinctions based on coverings. And making distinctions based on covering doesn't mean that's who that tiger is. But I relate with the tiger differently than I relate with the human, etc. And one human and another human. The relationships may differ, that's fine, but see the spiritual spark of life within, that's the idea. We're almost done. Now this is an interactive little opportunity. That means I'm going to ask you to see what's on the screen, find another person, 2 or 3 or 4, and discuss. What are some challenging situations that you feel that you cannot see different people with equal vision? For whatever the reason. This is now humans to other humans. Think of one person in your life with whom you have difficulty, now or in the past. And during that time there was this conflict, and maybe it's still going on, what you felt. Then with your inner vision, consciously see that person as spirit soul, no matter who they are or how they behave externally. Now asking you to write something down. Now maybe everyone has a cell phone or 2 or 3. So you can make notes on your phone, or we could just do this as an interactive discussion. I think we'll do that. You have preference? You want to write it, or want to speak it? Huh?
I heard some speak, Maharaj.
Huh?
Speak is what I heard.
Speak it. Find another person, or 2 or 3 or 4. Move your chairs and so you can face one another and discuss. So the discussion is the person with whom you've had difficulty. You don't have to go into the details of what that was, but a little bit, what you felt, and is it possible to see that person as a spirit soul, despite the behavior that was uncomfortable for you? And what would that feel like if you could do that? When you're ready, I'm going to stop speaking, so when you're ready, you can have your conversations. You may want to move the furniture around so you can see each other. I know where to go in the future. You all like these discussion sessions, so we'll make sure there's discussion sessions. Any questions or comments or complaints or thoughts you'd like to share?
I have a question.
Okay, yes, you're next. Who's first?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mars. My question is, when seeing equal vision, you mentioned that we don't hug the tiger.
You don't have to do what?
We don't hug the tiger.
Yeah.
So there's so much discussion about practically how to deal with people. So what role does the equal vision come in while we're trying to figure out the practicals of not hugging tigers?
Well, I could go almost any direction with that. That's the next question. And it's kind of open-ended, so I can go any direction I want to go in. But that's okay. I like being free. That's all. I mean, one of the topics that we'll be speaking about is Mother Nature. Mother Nature is not just a euphemism. According to the Vedic picture, material nature, Mother Nature, Prakriti, is a person. And we should have respect and regard for Mother Nature. Now, sometimes Mother Nature does harsh things. I had to delay visiting Houston because a tornado came, or a hurricane came through and knocking over trees, and 6 million people were without electricity for a week, and it was like, she slapped them around a little bit. But we don't, so there's different ways to go with the question you're asking. So normally our difficulty is with people, not so much with tigers. And sometimes people do cruel things, harsh things, mean things. So how are we supposed to have this samadarshana thing when they're being bullies? Or worse, murderers, or etc., mean, cruel. How do you, without naming names, it's easy to think of some people. It's hard to be as a samadarshana towards some personalities, and they're leaders that are leading people in scary directions, not just one or two. So practically speaking, there's a necessity, practical, as your question is practical, the practical necessity of seeing what's what. Samadarshana doesn't mean you can't see what's what. What's what means your power of discrimination doesn't shut off. You can see differences. And you relate according to differences, but that's not how you identify the other person.
So is the conclusion some kind of basic respect for
Yes,
life?
Thank you. We'll step back from the respect of the person. What's the basis of the respect for the person? They're part of the Supreme Person. You have respect for the Supreme Person. Here's a tiny part, and they're going bonkers. Poor fellow who's going bonkers. Now he's going bonkers. He's involving other people with his bonkerness. You know, wars are on the rise these days. It's not just that one. It's all kinds of unrest and turbulence and all kinds of stuff. So where's that coming from? It's the living entities have lost sight of who they're part of. So we respect the fundamental spark of the Supreme that's within, and you relate according to the right position, the appropriate position for their behavior and their speech. But don't lose sight of who they are. That's in very simple, practical terms. I know some people who have been very cruel to others. Some have been very cruel to me, and I don't particularly like the behavior. But I have to separate, to be true to the Bhagavad Gita value, I have to separate the behavior and speech. It's not just one person, they're very hurtful people. So I want to keep a distance from that hurtful person. But at the same time, respect is the right word, the soul, because the soul is connected to the Supreme Soul, who has all respect. So now why did the Supreme Soul let this bonkers fellow go off and do bonkers things? Why? You know, living entities, why are the prisons? It's not like the government got together and said, hey, I got a great idea, what's that? Let's have a government, and first thing we'll make a prison, because we want to put people in prison. They want citizens to be, but some citizens aren't going to be. So you can't just put them out of existence, you make a place for those people, and that's this place. And we're here too. We're less than perfect beings. So how can you have respect for yourself? You're less than a perfect being. You're not doing what some of those people are doing, or even people that may have direct. So it's respect. By the way, one of the whole sessions of this Body, Mind, Spirit retreat was on that topic. The fabric of any relationship is respect. Even when bad stuff, you don't need the bad stuff is in the category of speech and behavior. That's the tip of the iceberg. Then there's values and there's unchanging reality. So don't lose track of the unchanging reality, their spirit soul. They made choices, and they're reaping the results of those choices, and they're inflicting the results of those choices on others by their bad association. That's what's going on. I don't like it. I don't have to like it. And I don't have to dislike the soul within. How do I see the soul? It's a spiritual vision. Samadarshana. The dog and the dog eater, just take that example from Bhagavad Gita. Very different. Dog eaters, that's not nice. But how do you see with equal vision, the dog and the dog eater, etc.?
Thank you.
It's spiritual vision. And then if to the degree that you have spiritual vision, you can be a behavior changer, a value changer and a behavior changer because of the unchanging reality. Is it possible? The answer to this question is yes. Is it possible that one person, Srila Prabhupada, can come to Western countries and transform millions of people from bad behavior to excellent behavior? Yes. But it's not just based on teaching values, it's teaching values. But it's the spiritual conception of life, of who we are. Is it possible to get there? It's possible to get there. It may have its challenges. It does have its challenges. But if you don't have that vision, you're not going to get there. You don't put that in your GPS, you're not going to get there. Put that in your GPS.
So are you now saying that even the conception, before we're able to practice it, even the conception of it gives us
Yes.
some...
Yes. And that's the association with Gita and Gita values helps you get there. That's the GPS. And then you have to know what the destination is. What's a GPS without knowing your destination? You can tell you where you are on the road, but it's not going to tell you how to get to where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, and you don't put it in your GPS. It's a good example. I mean, GPS is a good example. Someone else wanted to say, I see you way in the back. With enthusiasm.
Hare Krishna. Consensus that was in our group was behavior. That in the past has made it challenging to sort of see the spirit soul behind the behavior. And in the Bible there's a verse that says, hate the sin, don't hate the sin.
Right.
And then it's sort of like if someone is sick, they're sneezing all over the place, they're coughing in your good, clean air, you know. And we can sort of go into our needs, you know, they're encroaching upon my good health, they're encroaching upon my comfort, my peace, sneezing all over the place, getting their germs. There's something mentioned in this book called Nonviolent Communication. It sort of talks about switching from seeing what needs of ours aren't being met and looking at the needs of others that they might need. So we look beyond this sickness this person may be coming down with, and we begin to look at it in a way that this is a person. They're not their condition. They're not their sickness. How can I serve them in this condition to make their life a little more pleasant, instead of being distracted about how, you know, my life is being made difficult or being hampered in a way by the current condition. Seeing past the condition, seeing past the sin.
You got it. And you know that you're speaking, but his wife is going to be speaking. Empathy, in one word. And then how do you communicate your empathy? It's called empathic communication. That's what his wife is teaching. So, beyond self-centeredness is acknowledging others and their needs. And then, you know, the yoga principle is pleasing the Supreme. It's the place of shelter that elevates the selfishness to thinking of the welfare of others, to ultimately what's of the interest of the Supreme in this situation or the next situation. And life keeps, the kaleidoscope keeps moving and situations keep changing. When that place of shelter, that's yoga, when that place of shelter is, the connection is made, then I'm going to make wise decisions and have wise contemplations because of the supreme hot person centeredness. But you'll enjoy this wife's seminar. Maybe you could teach it. Sounds like right next to you. You want something too?
Hey, Krishna.
Hi, Krishna.
So I was wondering, people out here that are not, like you mentioned, not the kindest.
Speak slowly.
Out here
Speak
doing-
slowly. I have a hard hearing. I'm an old fellow.
So speaking
I have a
of
good excuse.
people
I have a
out here
crush.
doing boundary things that are not kind and not loving or considerate or whatnot. Yes, they're had a soul. Yes, they're part of the divine. Yes, all these things, but their human isn't trained and they're super annoying and like not being.
I was waiting for the butt. I got the butt down.
And so it's like, how do you deal with the untrained human form of their higher consciousness?
Well, this gentleman next to you just gave the answer. It starts with stepping outside of selfishness using his language, otherness, you know, there must be something inside that's troubling them. If someone's misbehaving, there's some hurt inside there. That's where the misbehavior is coming from. Now, I don't have a magic wand that can take that hurt away from them, but at least I can start to see them, that the behavior is different than them.
And you can separate the person and the behavior, but that doesn't change the fact that they're annoying.
Okay, so you may keep your distance from them. That's okay. But as you're keeping distance from them, is there something, the answer is yes. Is there something that you can do today, in the moment, that's going to benefit that blankety blank person? And yes, and not only that person, but a world that's filled with people that got their heads screwed on backwards.
I mean, is it our purpose to do all these things for all these other people? Like constantly giving our energy to the people?
Yeah, let me just do this, keeping it simple. All the people have a way I have learned how to keep things simple. Because you can drill down and get into the complications and it gets messy because it's complicated. But if you learn a principle and apply the principle as best you can, you have an answer to your question. And the simple answer in 2 words is Srimad Bhagavatam. What?
Translate that.
Could be a sure. There's sound vibration that connects the consciousness of the individual to the Supreme through sound vibration. And then with that sound vibration, what are behaviors that are consistent with one who's connected with the source of everything? And it's just that sound vibration doesn't guarantee for that particular individual. But supposing they're stuck and they want to be stuck, and they're not going to let go of being stuck because they want to be stuck, and they're suffering like anything, but they think that's it.
So just leave them with a joyous tune and walk
But
away.
the atmosphere around them can change, and in the course of time they can change. This is how this bottom of the iceberg can affect the middle part and the upper part. You propagate the unchanging reality. That's something you can do in the moment. And it doesn't
Isn't
need
reality always changing?
What?
You said the unchanged reality. Reality is always changing, isn't it?
Well, what's reality? You know, there's unchanging reality. And then there's that the person is misbehaving. That's a changeable reality.
I mean, all reality is changeable, like we're creating it in every moment, aren't we?
Well, you're asking me a question that says, what do you do with this fellow and your emotions? And I'm saying, keep a distance and try to make the atmosphere conducive for a change in that person and maybe other persons besides that person, but persons, plural.
Just live by example.
Yeah, by example, but through sound. Shabda means sound, spiritual sound. Make spiritual sound.
So just sing. You're saying just to sing.
Well, it changes the atmosphere, not only the air the person is breathing, but vibrational atmosphere around through spiritual sound. And makes it possible. The person may just be dogma and stubborn, and they're not going to change because, forget it, man, I'm going to be like I am and take a hike. But you can vibrationally change the atmosphere to make it more possible for that person. Meanwhile, I'm keeping a distance because they're toxic.
So just let your energy reach them over there.
Yeah, if you can throw a rock at them, that's a choice.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So Maharaj,
He's got a microphone. Look at that.
I've seen you put this question up several times,
But this time when you put it out, like think of one person who you have difficulty with, it occurs to me that I might be that person for some people.
No. How can you say that?
And not necessarily people in this room, but
I understand. I know what you're saying. I'm just being comical. Of course we are that type of person for some people. All of us, without exception. Some more than others, but now, what can we do with that? This is the introspection, by the way. Go ahead.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being, on somebody's list or many people's list. Yeah, is that okay, Maharaj?
Yes, I said okay very quickly, but humility says, this is the God-centered, Krishna-centered humility. My business ultimately is to please the Supreme. And if in the course of my efforts to please the Supreme, there's this person over here and that person over there that are displeased, I can't change that. But I can change myself. And how do I change myself? Back to both of these questions. Through sound, spiritual sound. Then what's spiritual sound? Vedic, sounds that come from the Supreme, that's spiritual sound. That's why, 2 words I said, Srimad Bhagavatam. We could say Bhagavad Gita, spiritual sound. Or the mantra, spiritual sound. Let me engage myself more effectively, not just more quantitatively, but qualitatively, more effectively with spiritual sound. And so I can be more pleasing to the Supreme, and maybe, likely, less pleasing to others. Now some others may be not just agnostic, but atheistic. The more you do spiritual sound things, the more that you can aggravate them. That happens. That happens. So, do it anyways. And that's where it's okay. If the cause is, if you're sincerely striving towards the yoga destination, that's in your GPS, and you're moving in that direction. And some people don't want the Supreme to be at the center. Anything but the Supreme, especially themselves, but anything but the Supreme. So do it anyways. And it's okay. Okay, we got a question in the back again. You must have had a lively discussion group back here. We have 8 minutes.
If I can do it in 1.5.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm trying to be short too.
Oh no. So I had the experience of 15 years of fighting insurance companies and hospitals and nursing homes, and my intent was to be there for my parents. And what ended up happening is that I was fighting everyone, every day, all the time, forever. And my psyche right now,
Traumatized.
I'm totally traumatized. And I feel like if I get up and live again, I still failed with the people I loved. And I don't know how to live again.
You don't know how to?
Live again. And go to light again, because I feel like I failed so badly. And I want to.
Well, my answer is similar to the answer to these other 2 questions. It's sound vibration. Spiritual, there's always sound, but spiritual sound. And it's healing. It's not like a silver bullet, not like instantaneously you're back to life again, but it's life. Spiritual sound is life-giving, as life restoring, as healing. So find a source or multiple sources that resonate as sources of spiritual sound, and expose yourself, at least a little bit every day to spiritual sound, and then reflect on it, let it go in, and then do the rest of what you do, and then each day. As I'm speaking, I'm thinking of some Srimad Bhagavatam verses that says what I just said. I just paraphrased it in simple language. Shrimvatasvakata Punya Shravana Kirtan Vidyantakstoya Badrani Vidtu Noti. The heart becomes Vidtu Noti. The heart becomes cleansed of all yucky stuff. Abhadras is the word in Sanskrit. Unwanted stuff. This lingering. And I don't like that unwanted stuff that's lingering. Is lethal. I don't like it. I want to be alive. Just
will it help clear for those I love who are no longer here?
yeah. I can give some details, but I promise I will be short. Then if you do what I just said, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7 generations before and 7 generations after, spiritual benefit will go to them too. And it's just, emulation to bodies and other bodies and generations. We want to speak of other bodies that aren't part of your family. There's benefit that goes out and about, vibrational benefit that goes out and about, from the inside to outside. And it rests on sound. The transformation of heart rests on choosing sound vibration wisely. And then, a little bit at a time. You can do a lot, but you're at least a little bit at a time, little bit by little bit. Okay, we have 4.5 minutes. Yeah. This long cord I can go over.
Hare Krishna. For some of us, it's so easy to see with equal vision that it's hard to have discernment. So for me, it's like, it's so easy for me to see, this person was hurt. I can totally
Speak slowly. It's so easy for you
to see with equal vision, or to see the spirit soul of someone, and to actually almost like not really identify and see their covering. So I'm not able to protect myself from it. So it's like the hug from the tiger, I'll go and hug the tiger. So, because it's so easy for me to see, like, okay, this person was hurt by, it's generational trauma, and of course it's not their fault, and of course they need to get healed, and I want to help heal them. And then I get into this mindset where, like, I'm so focused on, I want to help them, I want to heal them, I can see where they're coming from. There's like too much empathy, and then I forget to protect myself. And like, I feel like other people may have this problem and not realize it. It took me a long time to even recognize that I was doing this. So what advice do you have for people that are coming from like the other side of this problem?
I like this question. Yummy. Krishna at the center. You're not the doer. You're not the fixer. You're not the healer. You're an instrument. That's how you address it. The instrument is, okay, you got the feeling because it's natural. You don't like check it out and cancel it and garbage it and start all over again. You don't have to do that. Just connect it to the source. I'm an instrument, and you turn your attention to the source, and if the source so desires, let me be your instrument, not like I'm going to fix, and I abandon myself and think I'm at the center. That's the flip side of the materialist that thinks, the opposite way. You're the instrument, but the instrument in the hands of whom? And so that feeling is that empathy or compassion has its place in elevated souls. So now don't abandon yourself and think that you're going to do this and do that. You're an instrument. You want to know the verse in Bhagavad Gita? She'll tell you later. Nimitta matram bhavisami sachin. Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, be my instrument. Nimitta is the Sanskrit word. Nimitta, be my instrument. Krishna wants. Does Krishna want this person to suffer? No. Be his instrument. So how do you be his instrument? He'll help you get the skill and the shock, the power, shakti, to be an instrument. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And you're not abandoning yourself, you're connecting yourself.
So how do I know when I need to be an instrument and when I need to, if it's not my place?
Well, the second one is not who you are anyways. The second one is false ego. And the one that's not false ego is true ego. Your consciousness is with Krishna, not your consciousness is with me. And I'm the fixer of the problem of this unfortunate person. Who's at the center? There's the answer to your question. Look at introspect, look at that question, you got the answer to your question. Who's at the center? And if the instrument is Krishna's at the center, then there's details. Should I go 30 degrees or 40 degrees or 90 degrees? That's a detail. It's called intelligence. Intelligence comes from the super soul, Krishna within. So you become the instrument, conscious, strive to be the instrument, and you get intelligence. Better than yesterday, when you were thinking, I'm going to fix it. Super soul gives intelligence. And then you have teachings, the wisdom literature teaching. You probably have a guide, a teacher or guru or someone that's going to help you. Not 90, please, don't go 90, go 20. And go slowly. But don't lose sense of what's at the center. And then you're the instrument, not the doer. Okay. Look at this. Well, 10:15 hours meeting. Whoops, 11:15 hours meeting.